The name Carlo Mastrangelo may not leap from textbooks or television retrospectives, but for those who understand the roots of American pop harmony, his voice still echoes in alleyways and through jukebox speakers. He wasn't content being an accessory to a lead singer. His voice was a defining force, his rhythm the motor behind some of the 20th century's most enduring sounds. From the street corners of the Bronx to the radio waves of a changing nation, Carlo carved his story with instinct, defiance, and unmistakable style. Carlo Mastrangelo was born on October 5, 1937, in the Bronx, a part of New York where hard work and neighborhood loyalty weren't just virtues, but lifelines. His upbringing in a tight-knit Italian-American family infused him with pride, discipline, and a reverence for tradition. He was raised among stoops, fire escapes, and the rhythm of everyday survival. The Bronx, then as now, was not forgiving, but it was vibrant, brimming with music drifting from radios, open windows, and youth harmonizing on street corners. His earliest passions weren't shaped in conservatories or classrooms. They were forged in stairwells and echoing halls, where kids beatboxed before it had a name, and harmonies were more valuable than reputation. For Carlo, music wasn't a hobby. It was an inheritance, a shared currency among boys navigating the edge of adolescence and adulthood. By his teens, Carlo had found his kindred spirits in Fred Milano and Angelo De Leo. Together they sang doo-wop under lamplight and in the tiled acoustics of Bronx stairwells. When they crossed paths with Dion DeBelmonts, a charismatic kid with a bluesy growl and a street poet's confidence, the chemistry was undeniable. The quartet took their name from Belmont Avenue, their shared neighborhood. The Belmonts weren't just a group, they were a brotherhood. Their rehearsals were ragged but impassioned, their harmony shaped by instinct, not instruction. Carlo, a natural baritone, added grit and depth beneath Dion's lead. His vocals had texture. You could feel the smoke in his voice and the punch in his phrasing. Their breakthrough came in 1958 with the release of I Wonder Why, a record that opened with one of the most recognizable intros in rock history. That off-kilter doo-wop rhythm, born from Carlo's playful experimentation, set the tone for a sound that would dominate American radio for years. No One Knows and Don't Pity Me followed, but it was A Teenager in Love that etched their names into pop culture. Released in 1959, the song became an anthem for youth heartbreak, capturing the sincerity and confusion of adolescence in less than 3 minutes. Carlo's background vocals were more than harmonic support. They were a conversation, a counterpoint, and sometimes a challenge to the lead. His contribution grounded the songs with emotional weight and rhythmic nuance. He was never just part of the wallpaper. He was foundation. As fame swept them onto television sets and concert halls nationwide, the group was invited to join Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper on the ill-fated Winter Dance Party tour in early 1959. The weather was brutal. The bus was broken. Spirits were frayed. When Buddy offered a few bandmate spots on a private plane, Dion declined, put off by the cost. That plane crashed, killing everyone aboard. Though the Belmonts were spared, the tragedy left a permanent scar. The sense of mortality became very real, and tensions, already simmering, intensified. Carlo and the others wanted to lean into their group identity, but Dion was pulling away, seduced by solo stardom and creative independence. By 1960, Dion broke away. The split was bruising. While Dion surged forward with hits like Runaround Sue and The Wanderer, the Belmonts regrouped without him. Carlo assumed new duties, not just as a singer, but as a creative anchor. He took the reins, guiding their next phase. Without Dion, Carlo, Fred, and Angelo signed with Sabrina and later United Artists. In 1961, they released Tell Me Why, which cracked the Billboard Top 20. The vocal blend remained intact, smoother in some places, bolder in others. Carlo stepped forward more vocally, shifting from baritone to occasional lead. His voice had aged into something rich and seasoned, more suited to the bluesy ballads they began exploring. They followed with Come On Little Angel and Dottie. Though none matched the commercial heights of their Dion years, the work was tighter, cleaner, and in many ways more mature. Carlo began to experiment with more complex vocal arrangements and production techniques, showcasing his evolution not just as a performer, but as a technician. Throughout the 60s and 70s, Carlo remained a steady presence. The Belmonts participated in nostalgia tours, frequently sharing bills with groups from the early rock and roll era. Fans greeted them like old friends, and Carlo's presence brought continuity. He remained fiercely proud of his roots, often referencing his upbringing in interviews, never shying from his working-class origin story. In the mid-1960s, Carlo surprised many by shifting genres. He began working on material that leaned heavily into jazz and soul, influenced by Ray Charles, Bobby Darin, and Chicago blues. His voice, once defined by strict harmony roles, now explored grit, improvisation, and rhythmic phrasing. He briefly led a group called the Manhattan Transfer, no connection to the later group of the same name, and explored solo efforts, including work on unreleased demos and studio sessions. These projects never gained widespread attention but reveal a man refusing to be boxed in. He could have coasted on doo-wop fame, but he wanted more. His transition also led him into collaborations with other New York musicians, including sessions with up-and-coming singer-songwriters. Carlo was known for his generosity in studio spaces, often offering guidance to younger artists. He wasn't interested in the spotlight at all times. He seemed far more fulfilled when immersed in the process. In 1972, the original Belmonts reunited with Dion for a sold-out concert at Madison Square Garden. The performance was released as Reunion, live at Madison Square Garden. The audience, packed with multi-generational fans, erupted at the first harmonies. Time hadn't dulled their chemistry. If anything, it made it more bittersweet. The reunion was short-lived. Old disagreements resurfaced. Dion preferred creative autonomy, while Carlo valued collective decision-making. Still, they crossed paths occasionally, joining for special performances, charity events, and televised retrospectives. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Carlo remained active, especially during the doo-wop revival scene that surged on the East Coast. He mentored young groups, sang with various vocal ensembles, and made appearances at major rock and roll oldies festivals. As he aged, Carlo remained sharp, warm, and quick with a story. He often reflected on how surreal it was to have started with harmonies in the hallway and ended up with songs that people played at weddings, funerals, and backyard parties. Privately, he endured health struggles that he rarely discussed publicly. Even in the face of illness, he continued to sing when he could, sometimes showing up unannounced at benefit shows or open mic nights, never announcing himself with fanfare. On April 4, 2016, Carlo Mastrangelo died at the age of 78. His death drew heartfelt tributes from fellow musicians, journalists, and fans, while mainstream media gave only modest attention. The doo-wop and oldie communities mourned deeply. Social media lit up with remembrances, audio clips, and photos from the past 6 decades. He was buried in New York, close to the streets that raised him. Carlo Mastrangelo's musical journey didn't involve record-breaking sales or endless magazine covers. His life was quieter but no less remarkable. He influenced countless vocalists, even if they didn't know his name. His rhythmic arrangements, daring vocal textures, and improvisational spirit laid groundwork for much of what would become standard in vocal group arrangements. He never needed the frontman's spotlight. He had craft, he had intuition, he had an ear that could find harmony in chaos and rhythm in silence. While others chased trends, Carlo stayed true to the streets and songs that shaped him. He wasn't interested in rewriting history. He lived it, one verse, one harmony at a time,